Hi, I'm Ted Venema. We're going to talk to you right now about binaural hearing, why we've got hearing in two ears, why we have two ears, period. We as mammals have two eyes, we've got two nostrils, we have two ears. There are advantages to having two of these things. We of course have two eyes in order to see depth. If we had only one eye, we'd see as flat as a postcard. We have two ears for three reasons. There's three advantages for having two ears. These are called binaural summation, that's one reason. And the second reason is directional hearing. And the third reason is for what's called the cocktail effect. And we can explain each of these as we go. Here goes binaural summation. You know the old saying, two ears are better than one? Well, that's true. But never think that two ears or having one ear that's deaf gives you 50% hearing loss. That isn't true at all. A one-eared person or a person with hearing in one ear has fairly good hearing. The person just has trouble hearing in noise and maybe about a 5 decibel hearing loss compared to having two ears. Let's explain. Say a person has really good hearing in the left ear, really good hearing in the right ear. It takes 10 decibels to just barely hear a tone in the left ear, 10 decibels to just barely hear a tone in the right ear. If we heard the tones presented binaurally, our hearing levels would increase by 5 decibels. Now our hearing levels would be at 5 dB instead of 10. Give you another example. If it took 50 decibels to just barely hear in the right ear and 50 to just barely hear in the left ear, if the tones were presented in both ears, it would take me 45 dB to just barely hear the tones. So that's called binaural summation. So having deafness in one ear certainly doesn't mean a 50% hearing loss. The second reason we've got two ears is more intuitively understood. This one is called directional hearing. And this picture here shows it. Here's a person who lives in a van down by the river, and he's got a left and right ear. There's his nose, and here's sound coming from a corner here. Notice it's hitting his right ear a split second before it's hitting his left ear. Also, the right ear is picking up the sound with a little bit more intensity than is the left ear, because the right ear is a little bit closer. So you have a tiny nucleus in your low brainstem called the superior olivary complex. And this tiny little pair of nuclei in the low brainstem compares A, the time of arrival to both ears or to each ear, as well as B, the intensity differences between ears. And that's how we localize the direction of sound. Never think, oh, the right ear hears from the right and the left ear hears from the left. It's not that dull. The truth is much more elegant than that. The little tiny nuclei pair of the superior olivary complex are comparing the time and the intensity differences between the ears to tell you which way to snap your head. So the directionality, let's go a little bit further into this and look at the zoological kingdom. Elephants use low-frequency tones. They emit low-frequency sounds, and these are long sound waves, meters long in length. Extremely low-pitched sounds bend over objects, around trees, over hilltops, and into valleys beside. This is how zoologists have figured out that elephants communicate with each other. And trains of elephants can be seen walking in parallel, kilometers apart. Bats, on the other hand, emit extremely high frequency tones. Now, they use highs like radar to find insects that are flying around. They use high-pitched sounds that they emit like radar to help them navigate in the dark. You see, the combining statement here is low frequencies bend, high frequencies bounce. Elephants emit lows, bats emit highs. What does that have to do with us and directional hearing? Well, low frequency sounds that we can hear are long enough to bend around the 6-inch width of our head. So low frequencies, to localize or tell the direction of low frequency sounds, the cue is the time differences between the waves hitting the ears because the waves can bend around the head, and that's why the superior olivary complex in the low brainstem can use time differences of arrival to localize direction. For high frequencies, however, the waves are shorter than 6 inches long. And now that superior olivary complex can't use time differences anymore. It's got to use a different cue. And what cue can it use? Tiny intensity differences between the ears. Cool, hey? I think that hearing is fascinating. The third reason we've got hearing in 2 ears is actually called the cocktail effect. Now, the cocktail effect, you're going to see 5 faces here. And you're going to see a happy face, happy face, happy face, and not so happy, and not so happy. Now in this picture here, you've got a right ear getting signal, the sound you want to hear, and competing noise. And the left ear, you're getting a signal and competing noise. But notice I wrote signal here in italics on one side. That means something is different in the signal. Let's make a picture of this. Pretend you're at a party. And there's lots of background hubbub and blah, 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 blah going on. And you're trying to listen to somebody on your right who's speaking to you from a couple of feet away. Well, that person's speech is going to be a little bit different to one ear than it will to the other ear. So you're going to have some differences in the signal from ear to ear. The noise might be quite similar to both ears. Well, you're happy then because something's different. And that helps you hear the signal from the noise, the speech compared to the noise, a little bit better. Here's the second case. The signal is the same, the speech maybe that you want to hear, but the noise is a little bit different between the ears. That person also is quite happy. He also can pick up the signal from the noise with fair ease. The third situation is this guy's getting signal or speech in one ear and noise in both ears. This guy's happy too. You know why? Think of pilots in airplanes in a loud cockpit of a little airplane. Oftentimes they'll take off one headphone and stick it on their head, and they'll leave the other headphone on because they can actually hear the control tower instructions better that way. Again, that's that third situation. Now think of this fourth situation where everything is identical. This guy's not happy. Everything's the same. And last of all, look at someone who has deafness in one ear. This guy can't compare between ears either. And this is why unilateral deafness means difficulty hearing in background noise. It just gets a little tougher. So in summary, binaural summation, having 2 ears better than one ear doesn't mean, or 1 ear deaf doesn't mean 50% hearing loss. Directionality is usually compromised. When someone has deafness in one ear, his or her typical complaint is, I can hear just fine, I can't tell the direction it's coming from. That's the main thing. The best remedy for that for someone studying at school would be preferential seating in the classroom. And at any rate, presbycusis, hearing loss in the elderly, is a type of sensory neural hearing loss. It's the most common hearing loss in the world, and presbycusis results in hearing loss in both ears. Of course, we don't just get aging in one ear. So this is why it's not a great idea to fit presbycusis with hearing loss in both ears with one hearing aid, because then you're giving the person this situation. The hearing, way better hearing in one ear than the other ear. And that doesn't do much good at all. It helps, but it's not near as good as fitting binaurally. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Ciao for now.